If you want to learn how to maximize the damage output with your Heng Blade build, then this video is for you. In today's video, we're just going to be highlighting 5 different unique things that you can quickly and easily do just to dish off some more damage with the Heng Blade weapon. As always, if you enjoy this video or learn something new, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps me out. Okay, let's jump into the very first tip on how to max out some DPS. First things first, I want to call out inner ways and just make sure that you guys all are aware of the top 4 inner ways to focus on to maximize damage. First things first, morale chant. Get this to T6 as quickly as possible. This is basically a blanket. It works with this build and almost every other build out there. Next up, this is specific for the Heng Blade. You want the Frostclad Knight inner way note. Again, all of these inner ways for the most part, well, these two right here are brand new to the game. So I do highly recommend you go through the conversion method to basically transition old inner way notes from a different build to this new build if you plan on maining the Heng Blade. Do not go through the process of recollecting all of these new inner ways because let me tell you, it's going to take you a very, very long time to get there. So again, if you plan on playing Heng Blade, then you have to commit and just go all in when it comes to inner way notes. Each of these are extremely important, and at T6 you get a 10% damage boost to Snowbreak Spring, as well as some other benefits that really help survivability and damage output. Next up, we have to have Throat Piercing Art. Again, this is major. You're going to be doing light and charged heavy attacks left and right with this build. And if you take a look at the breakthrough, these get very, very intense. You not only get kind of a blanket buff when it comes to Stone Split attack, but at T3, it gets enhanced to increase physical resistance, which also supports overall survivability, as well as a boost to critical damage, which again, you're going to be dishing off tons and tons of light attacks with this build, so it all builds up very, very quickly. Again, I highly recommend you hit T6 in this as quickly as possible. This is not as important in my opinion as the previous one I spoke about, but again, still super, super important, especially since with the Heng Blade, you'll be focusing on parrying and deflecting a lot, which will lead to just even more damage output, which is great. This last one, there is some flexibility with it. Invigorated Warrior is amazing, again, at T6. You want to make sure that you have this Invigorated Warrior active and basically remaining on your target as much as possible. When this is up, you're going to be able to damage a lot higher in regards to just overall damage output. This is a blanket 8% increased damage. So again, go big or go home when it comes to Invigorated Warrior. Try to hit T6 as soon as possible. The other thing I wanted to call out, which is kind of interesting, is that some players have been playing around with Light and Shadow alike. This is very unique, but again, you're going to want to really commit for this. Once you hit Light and Shadow alike at tier 6, you can see some of the massive damage output you can get. Increased direct damage dealt by 5%, with an additional increase based on the target's missing HP percentage, up to 4%. This could potentially be a 9% damage buff. Again, there is still some more testing to kind of be had when it comes to this one, but I wanted to call that out because a lot of people are not talking about it, and there is a lot of potential, especially with a Heng Blade build. When it comes to gear sets, it depends on whether or not you're going to be using this for PvE or PvP content. If you are focused on PvE, 100% utilize the weapon set of Shattered Ridge. This increases minimum physical attack, which really helps your light attack combos, as well as increases the overall damage output when successfully deflecting or hitting a boss. So again, this is massive when it comes to PvE. This is basically free damage and will definitely boost your damage tremendously. However, let's say you want to use this for PvP. This only really is impacted when you are hitting or deflecting a boss, right? So it's not going to be taking an effect if you are doing PvP. If you are doing PvP, I think Swaying Heights, in my opinion, is probably the best move. It increases minimum physical attack, just like the previous set, but it also increases overall damage output, and that increases even further with the less and less HP your target has. So again, make sure you utilize this if it's PvP, or Shattered Ridge if it's PvE. When it comes to the actual armor gear set, I like to just run Obsidian armor set across the board for PvE and PvP. Pretty simple. It's basically just a bit of a blanket that kind of helps your overall survivability with increased physical defense, and then also this additional buff when it comes to basically reducing HP damage and also reducing crit damage against you and affinity damage, which all stacks up quite a bit. So again, with these gear sets, you should be in a better spot regardless if you are using this for PvE or PvP. This next one is such a simple one that so many people just don't use. Make sure you are consuming food before going into PvE boss battles or even the PvP arena, because camel milk wine, for example, will boost your physical attack by 70 to 140, which really stacks up over time, especially with the Heng Blade. Again, you're all about combos, dishing off lots and lots of light attacks back to back, and just really just attacking your opponent as much as possible. So this blanket physical attack boost will support your overall damage output across the board. And again, this is only inactive in trials. So again, everything outside of trials, these buffs are fair game for, so you might as well take advantage of them. Another way to maximize damage with the Heng Blade is to understand your secondary weapon, because it can actually buff the Heng Blade itself. To be more specific, we're talking about the Phalanxbane blade, right? So many of us know that there is a skill known as Legion Summoner. So although it strictly is really focused more so on like the defensive benefits where you kind of get this Iron Guard effect, keep in mind that you have additional effects that actually does impact the Heng Blade, other known as the Snow Parting Blade, right? So when you hit an enemy while this is active with Snow Parting Blade's General's Bane Stab, you also summon 2 soldiers with a Heng Blade to dash forward, dealing 4 hits of pursuit damage. Keep in mind, this is all new damage output that stacks on top of each other, so this actually works well with the Heng Blade and will lead to more damage output with that weapon. Additionally, just important to call out, this additional skill right here, Soul Burning, usually what happens with the combo, right, is that you drop this, and then swap over to Heng Blade and just start going off with the combo itself. But this is important to note as well, because it does kind of support overall just survivability even further. So again, this kind of gives you a blanket of not only defense, but also damage buffs that will help you as you jump over here and start dishing off more and more damage. And the last thing to call out, which again, a lot of people just don't seem to realize, is the overall damage output potential Divinecrafts have. To be more specific, I love using the Divinecraft Poison with the Heng Blade build because it leads to increased damage across the board. It's very, very easy to upgrade this to the maximum level as well, which increases the duration of some of these buffs and just really just maximizes damage output with the Heng Blade. And that covers it. If you enjoyed the video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button, and stay tuned for some more Where Winds Meet content coming very, very soon. Bye.